Hey guys, we are Where's Waldo Emerson Group, and we are bringing you Emerson's lens on Fareed Zakaria's In Defense of a Liberal Education by McKenna Johnson, Ron Rajwani, that's me, Hamel Park, Chavi Kara, and Saket Baretti. Introduction. Who was Ralph Waldo Emerson? Well, I'll tell you. He was a Caucasian male and an American. He was a well-known author for one of his essays, making him one of America's most influential thinkers and writers. He graduated from Harvard and was an educator. This shows how credible he was as a writer for everything that he's accomplished. He graduated from Harvard, which is a great Ivy League, and he was well known for one of his essays, making him an influential thinker. Now, what were his opinions? Well, he believed that an ideal education is an education that must be flexible enough to create a generation of well-rounded students. It completes the full cycle of incorporating knowledge, morals, culture, and more. It would still lead to a career, but also utilize other tools and thinking strategies in daily life. He also wished for an ideal education that helped create self-reliant people through constant interactions with one another and cooperative learning. Now on to Fareed Zakaria. Who was he? Well, I'll tell you. He was an Indian American journalist. He went to Yale and got a PhD from Harvard. He worked for lots of big names companies like Newsweek, New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal. This shows how qualified he was as he was able to work for big companies and graduated from two Ivy League schools, which were Yale and Harvard. Now, you can't get into his opinions without knowing what a liberal education is, so I'll tell you what it is. It's an education suitable for the free human being. But that's not enough. So let me go deeper. It implies that a complete approach to our cultural, intellectual, and moral heritage. It includes the development of broad frames of reference, respect for facts, skills to organize and use knowledge of the spirit. Now, on to Fareed Zakaria's beliefs. Zakaria is targeting the current education system and the current job market, as he believes that people are not being rewarded for getting a liberal education, even if it is extremely beneficial. Now that you guys know about these two authors, let's bring in our thesis. Ralph Waldo Emerson would agree on the concepts of importance of liberal education as it relates to creating well-rounded students from Fareed Zakaria's In Defense of Liberal Education. Now let's dive into this with Chavi.
The first reason that a liberal education creates well rounded students is through encouraging them to learn new topics and subjects, even if they know exactly what they want to do in their life. Many times, when an individual knows exactly what they wish to do, they will take courses in high school and in college pertaining only to that subject, which then restricts their learning to only that subject. Students can learn a variety of skills and hobbies that they will carry with them for the rest of their life through a liberal education, even if they do not pursue said hobbies or interests as a career. They will learn from them and they will grow from them regardless, coming out as a better, more educated person. Restricting students to taking only classes pertaining to their chosen subject inhibits them from ever discovering anything new. When talking to a friend who attended college in America, Zachariah states, he told us of the incredible variety of courses that students could take no matter what their major. I remember listening to him describe a film society at Cornell that has screenings and discussions of classics by Ingmar Bergman and Ferruccio Fanelli. This shows how even though a person can pick their major and know exactly what they want to do in their life, they can still also pursue new hobbies and build on old ones like film, regardless of their chosen career path. Zachariah was fascinated by this concept and saw all of its wonders. By providing such opportunities to students, they often had a better understanding of their world since they were not only educated in their specific field, but also in many others since they learned about them through a liberal education, which made them more well rounded individuals than they would have been had they only studied for their desired career path. Emerson would agree with this, as he very much agreed with the life of Sir Charles Fellows and his take on education. Even though Sir Charles Fellows had a very specific career path, he was an archaeologist and an explorer. He chose to go out of his way to learn about more than just his discovery and educated himself even though he was far into his life. In fact, on one of his explorations, he went back to England, bought a Greek grammar, and learnt the language. He read history and studied ancient art to explain his stones. Emerson says the following about this: but Mark in the task, which was simply a new discovery, he achieved an excellent education and became associated with distinguished scholars whom he had interested in his pursuit. In short, had formed a college for himself. The enthusiast had found the masters who he sought. Emerson called him a genius for doing so, saying that only geniuses want nothing more than to learn new things, even if their career path is set. By going out of his way to learn Greek and history and art, subjects that he did not have to explore but still did, Sir Charles Fellows was a more enlightened man in subjects that would in some way benefit him for the rest of his career, even if they were not directly linked to every single thing he did. By following what is the basis of a liberal education, learning about anything and everything, especially arts and history, Sir Charles Fellows bettered himself as a student of life and came out as a more widely educated, well rounded student and person. By giving students who already have a set career path for their life a liberal education from the very start, they're encouraged to learn about everything and which will benefit them in said career path.
Okay, so for reason two, learning a bit of everything through a liberal education, make sure that students are actually interested in their chosen career path, regardless of if it's liberal or STEM related, since they've actually tried many different things already. So a quote that we found from Zakaria was on page 180, and it states that skills and jobs have not lured people into engineering and biology. Not everyone has the aptitude for science, so much as it has made them nervously forsake humanities and take courses in business and communications. Many of these students might well have been better off taking a richer, deeper set of courses in subjects they found fascinating, and supplementing it, as we all should, with some basic knowledge of computers and math. So Zakaria believes that being able to have tried many different things through a liberal education could be very helpful for a person no matter what type of career they decide to pursue in the future, because a liberal education allows for people to have a very broad view on life, meaning that in the end they won't be stuck on a career that they may not enjoy or be interested in, while those who don't have a liberal education will not be able to broaden their own skills in every aspect and be able to change what they want in their career. Those who do have a liberal education will be able to help what they choose in the future, even if it is a STEM related career. An example of this could be how at Infosys, a information technology consulting company, are actually looking forward to working with those that have a liberal education because of their human-centered skills and also their way of thinking, which is out of the box and allows for them to be able to see and solve problems in a way that could differ from those who don't actually have a liberal education. And so for Emerson, he seems to agree with this philosophy by Zakaria because of the freeness a person has when they learn what they actually want to be learning. And the quote we chose from Emerson was on page 210, and it states, so in literature, the young man who has taste for poetry, for fine images, for noble thoughts, is insatiable for this nourishment, and forgets all the world for the more learned friend who finds equal joy in dealing out his treasures. So Emerson would agree with this idea because he believes that people will um, only be interested in their specific career paths if they actually found the course that they are taking interesting and fascinating to the point that it makes them actually want to learn more about it and enjoy what they are doing. Um, Therefore, it is important for people to try new courses so they can be exposed to many different things and be able to find what they actually want to be doing in their future and career. Even if they might want to change it in the future, they will be able to because they've been exposed to many other things already. And so this relates back to Zakaria and how he believes that having an extensive knowledge on multiple subjects will make it easier for the students to select their career and to also have an interest in what they are doing. A liberal education is that it should be something that more students are looking forward to than they do now, because as Zakaria has said, there are many studies shown that students nowadays are taking courses that are more focused on finance, business, technology, rather than a liberal education, which has seen a bit of a decline. And so it would be good for students to be able to actually go towards the path of liberal education because it is not forcing down a student to a specific road or career they might not want to be in the future, and it allows for them to have a very broad view and allow for them to actually be able to maybe change what they want in the future.
Okay, so reason three for Zachary and Emerson. So basically, Emerson agrees that overall Americans in their specific cultures have a want for education, which doesn't relate to specific careers as they can explore a variety of subjects in education with the freedom of not being forced into a specific career path. So Zachary and Emerson, they both have a primary purpose of how liberal education is to create democratic citizens who understand how to appreciate the diverse opinions that is found in a democratic country. They also believe that education is a lifelong practice of discovering and creating relations that attach us to new topics that can be used for legit anything and not for it to just be used specifically for careers. So first of all, here Zachariah explains the difference in of the education system in America compared to India. He says, my mother also brought back Harvard's coursebook. For me, it was an astonishing document. Instead of a thin pamphlet containing a dry list of subjects, as one would find at Indian universities, it was a bulging volume overflowing with ideas. I read through the book, amazed that students don't have to choose a major in advance and that they could take poetry and physics and history and economics. I was falling in love with liberal education, and this was said on page 188 by Zachariah. So clearly, the most striking difference the author Zachariah has is the ability of students in American universities to take a broad range of courses, including those outside of their intended majors. In contrast, many other universities, as Zachariah says, in other places emphasize a more narrower and a more skill-based approach for jobs and other things like that. So he's basically saying how America is different than India in that liberal education encourages a culture of a dynamic variety in America that appeals to the common man like Zachariah. So the author also points out that he was embracing the benefits of liberal education by saying that I was falling in love with liberal education because more variety in subjects enables students to go on more intellectual adventures. Also, therefore, the solution for students who are concerned about jobs or their specific careers, Zachariah explains, is not to necessarily hone in on a specific skill or master it to the fullest as they did in India because there was a more drier list of subjects, but rather to seek out a more rigorous liberal education as this will ensure you more freedom on what you want to learn with no real restrictions on um, honing in on a specific career path. So, to agree with this, Emerson also says that this is what Emerson says. He says that he can learn anything, which is important to him. Now that the power to learn is secured, as mechanics say, which when one has learned the use of tools, it is easy to work at a new craft. And this was said on page 209. So Emerson would basically agree with what Zachariah is saying, as he believes that learning is crucial, even if it won't specifically lead to a career. The more education obtained, the more the person will be able to utilize it in their lifetime. He uses the use of tools, and Zachariah uses the words volume overflowing with ideas to demonstrate how once someone is exposed to the different fields of education, a person can easily put his or her efforts into forming something new. And Zachariah and Emerson also both put strong emphasis on on the idea of having more subjects to explore in, because this will teach students more skills and virtue, making them better people as a whole. Also, once certain lessons or subjects are mastered, the power of their performances are much more impactful, which therefore makes a person more well rounded because he learned the necessary skills, as Emerson says. Also, Emerson also agrees that with having a wider range of opportunities in education in which students want to learn, they can develop their self knowledge and improve on their self. And this basically creates a well more diverse set of students who can then lead to the betterment of society in general. So they also both explain in these evidence of how having the ability to learn whatever they want, which demonstrates the freedom that liberal education provides. This provides them with more various skills from various subjects to use in their lifetime and overall become better democratic citizens and becoming more well-rounded students.
So, in conclusion, Emerson would support the ideology that Zachariah displayed of a liberal education still being valuable knowledge and that knowledge is power, no matter what knowledge it is. So, with more education, students can explore different topics and use them in their future careers. A common misconception with liberal education is that because it doesn't directly correlate to a career and a specific job path, that it's not important and it's a waste of time and money. But that is actually proven wrong by Emerson, as he says that knowledge is useful tools that can be used no matter what. And having that variety of knowledge is going to help even to solidify the idea of a career path you want to go into or to change what you previously thought would be your career choice. If a student has the opportunity to seek a higher level of education and look into a liberal education, they should, because even if it isn't directly correlated to a job path, as I said previously, it can still help in your future and just in daily life. So a question you may be asking is, what now? What can we do to fix this problem that we currently see in society and education systems? So in society, we can change that stereotype that liberal education is just for rich people who have nothing to do, and that misconception how it's wrong, and it can be people just furthering their education levels and pursuing a career that would use that knowledge as well. In school systems, we can focus less on the curriculum and focus more on the spread of ideas and just how education can be tools for growing up and future lives when we do inevitably leave school. Zachariah wanted to show that although a liberal education isn't for everyone, it should be considered by almost every student if they have the opportunity to pursue it, and just end the misconception around it. Any further education is going to create a more well-rounded student and someone who continuously pursues knowledge beyond schooling and in their daily lives for the rest of their lifetimes. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.